right, what's going on, boys? We are back with another Run Pure Bets UFC main event breakdown video. This week, it's UFC on ESPN 23, and the fight card overall is pretty solid this week. It's stacked with fights. They should be entertaining, and the main event I really don't think is any different. Now, let me pull up the odds. We got two of the best fighters, I think, right now at 205 in Dominick Reyes and Jiri Prochazka. And if I'm being honest, man, I think that this is one of the tougher main events to call. At the very least over the last few months. If we look at both of these guys from a macro point of view, one fighter looks like he's got a wealth of experience. Prochazka's got 31 fights under his belt. And then another guy that, a couple of years ago was picked to be the heir apparent at light heavyweight in Dominick Reyes, even though he's relatively inexperienced. He's only got 14 fights in the cage. But if you dig a little deeper and you peel back the layers, I think that there are reasons to back both these guys, if I'm being honest. And that's why I think it's a pretty tough fight to call. Jiri Prochazka, at his core, he's just a really solid Muay Thai kickboxer and a freak athlete and not much more. He's got substantial power in his hands. And offensively, I mean, if you watch his fights, he is a whirlwind of violence and chaos. But if you watch the chaos in his fights, he really isn't worried about fundamentals or technique at all. You can tell how confident he is when he fights somebody because he isn't worried about getting hit ever. His defensive striking is significantly lacking. And, much of his game looks like a complete shit show where he just pressures every single fighter that he gets into the cage with. He throws a ton of volume, and he can drop you at any time because he's got the power to do it. Now, I think that Prochazka is a really exciting addition to the light heavyweight division, but I have a few problems with the mega hype train that most analysts right now in MMA journalism are throwing behind this kid. Like I just mentioned, he does not come across to me as a super technical fighter, both on offense and defense. So I think, a good counter striker could pick him apart because his striking technique is lacking. And I also think that he lacks basically any cohesive defensive game plan in general, because he's a fighter that is extremely overconfident and he loves the chaos so much that it really doesn't even matter to him. The second problem that I have for him is, if we're being fair, I mean, he crushed a bunch of cans at Ryzen. Like, if we're being completely honest, almost everybody that he's fought is unproven competition. Now, I went through 30 of his pro fights. I couldn't watch them all, but I managed to watch a lot of them from Ryzen. And I only found 3 fighters that I even thought were worth their salt that could be in the UFC. And not even make a run in the UFC. Maybe just be in the UFC in the bottom of the division. And, that record, like I said, it's padded with a bunch of easy people that he just absolutely ran through. Easily 20 cans that he crushed in that 27-3 record. Easily. So I struggle to see all the hype that is behind this guy. But I do respect his striking, and I respect his power. And on the other side of the cage, Dominick Reyes, who is a fighter where I'm really not exactly sure where Dominick Reyes is at right now. A couple of years back, you can make the argument that Dominick Reyes beat John Jones. In my opinion, he beat John Jones 3-2. But who am I? Okay. He made John Jones look human at the very least. And at the very least, he won 2 rounds, right? And, you know, I can't think of anybody that's made Jones look as human as he did. Maybe Alexander Gustafsson, the first time they fought, maybe. I mean, aside from that, who else? So the only fight that Reyes has been in since that John Jones fight was his fight against Jan Blachowicz at UFC 253 when he tried to get that interim light heavyweight belt. Now, if we're being fair, Dominick Reyes looked absolutely dreadful in that fight against Jan Blachowicz, okay? Now, Blachowicz that night took Dominick Reyes to school. He didn't only take him to school, he went to the high school cafeteria and he took his fucking lunch money too. That's how bad that Dominick Reyes looked in that fight. Now, my gut says it was more Jan Blachowicz just being a stud that's on a special run right now. Obviously, we just went and saw him destroy Israel Adesanya, basically. So I don't think that Jiri Prochazka can recreate what Jan Blachowicz did to Dominick Reyes. I think that Dominick Reyes is a far more technical striker on the feet. I think that Dominick Reyes also has substantial power, just like Jiri does. And I just think even Dominick Reyes' striking defense is just far more comprehensive than Jiri Prochazka. And if you go back, now, Prochazka's had one UFC fight, right? He fought Volkan Oezdemir. Dominick Reyes fought Volkan Oezdemir. They both won the fights against Volkan, okay? But if you go back and watch that Oezdemir fight, and you watch that first round, I mean, Jiri Prochazka got the piss beat out of him in the first round of that fight against Volkan Oezdemir. Like, he looked so bad in that first round that I was like, what? Who is this? What am I watching right now? Like, this is the hype train? I mean, just flailing all over the place, no game plan, chaos, just getting pieced up. He comes out in round 2, settles down a little bit, and he finds the kill shot and he drops Oezdemir cold too. So the question for me is, can Jiri Prochazka recreate what Jan Blachowicz did against Reyes? Because that's the only fighter that stood in front of Dominick Reyes really and gave Dominick big problems on the feet. And my gut says no. I think that Jiri Prochazka can catch Reyes and drop him if he hits the button easily, okay? But if you're asking me, who do I think wins the striking exchanges minute to minute until that kill shot happens, I think it's Dominick Reyes. I really do, because Prochazka really, I don't see how he can recreate how technically sound Jan Blachowicz was in that fight, man. Jan beat Reyes. He fought behind his jab. It set everything up for him from there. And, Reyes was put in a position where the fight wasn't coming to him. It got to the point where Reyes had to go out and he had to lead the exchanges against Jan Blachowicz. And when he does that, he loses. And that's why when people bring up Dominick Reyes, they always laud him as a really rock-solid counter-striker, because he finds holes when people are coming in and he does damage. Now, he's going to have a shit ton of opportunities in this fight to set up his counter-striking game, because if Prochazka is anything, he's number 1. a pressure fighter, and 2, a reckless fighter from everything I've watched at Reyes and that first UFC fight. So I think this is a show me fight. Jiri Prochazka has to show me that he can go out and beat Dominick Reyes, who is more weather tested and has a better resume, in my opinion, than Prochazka does, even though he has half the fights. So I feel like the wrong fighter is favored here. Like I said, do I think that Jiri Prochazka can win the fight because he's got power and he's got 25 minutes to hit the button? Yeah, he could definitely win this fight. But I also think that Reyes has a striking game that is technical enough to get the better of most exchanges that they have in this fight. And I just can't get past the fact that Prochazka crushed a lot of cans, a lot of guys who lack fundamentals and technique and just couldn't sniff the UFC on their best day. I got to see him beat somebody that might have beat John Jones before I could back him in a fight against Dominick Reyes. Now, I think if I'm setting the line for this fight, I would have probably set the line. I probably would have flipped it. Right now, Reyes is plus 110 on FanDuel. Jiri Prochazka is minus 130. I probably would have flipped those odds personally and had Reyes the minus 130 favorite and had Prochazka coming in at plus 110. So I think that there's value on taking Dominick Reyes at plus 110. My gut says this probably does not go the distance, not with the way that these guys crack, but I'll take the shot with Dominick Reyes here at plus 110 on FanDuel. I think it's an incredibly tough fight to call, but it's going to be a great fight to watch. I can tell you that. So, all right, Dominick Reyes, we'll take the shot with the dog at plus 110. You guys, for anybody that's not a member, you can get all our content over at Run Pure Sports. Almost every single handicapper on the site is profitable through 8 months. The website made 25 to 30 units in the month of April. Right now, we're up 60 units on the website, going strong. You could use the promo code BETS25 off. You'll get 25% off the first month. So it's normally going to cost you 60. It'll cost you 45 for the first month. Also, if you want the DFS side, we got the best team in the country. You could grab the DFS side and the bet side for $100 a month, and you could use promo code GetBets. And the first month that you're a member, you'll get the bet side totally for free. So aside from that, hope your action runs pure this weekend. I'll see subscribers in about an hour. We'll be live all night long for UFC Fight Night. Tomorrow, Coop and I will be back at 2:30 to do what we do, live at NASCAR. And JJ, Joey, and Holden will be live at around noon, I want to say, to break down the Major League Baseball card, every game, everything they like they do every single Sunday. And aside from that, boys, I'm out. Good luck this weekend.